Okay, Trig Algebra 3 students, today we're going to be reviewing for tomorrow's quiz. We're going to review the sections R.5 and R.6A. So let's start off with solving equations. Number one's a linear equation, so we're just getting x by itself. So the first thing we're supposed to do is add 10 to both sides. Now remember, make sure you guys are paying close attention here, maybe taking notes because the quizzes very closely resemble the reviews. And then you divide both sides by 5 and we have x is 7. Let's take a look at number 2, another linear equation. We're going to get one answer here. We have variables on both sides. So the first thing we need to do is subtract 7x from both sides. Then we're going to add 40 to both sides. So x has got to be 7. 7 times 7 is 49. If I'm going too fast at any point, please remember to pause and rewind. Watch this as much as possible. Number 3 is a tricky problem. 9x minus a parentheses. That's an invisible one that you have to distribute. So just bring down the 9x, and that'll be minus 1 times 4x is 4x, and minus 1 times 5 is negative 5, or minus 5. Now we have to combine like terms on the left side. 9x minus 4x is 5x. Add 5 to both sides. And then x has got to be 9. 5 times 9 is 45. I am going a little faster than I normally would in a normal class lesson because I'm trying to keep the video file down to a certain time so that I can upload it. All right, number 4, parentheses definitely distributes on the left and the right side of the equal sign. So 6n minus 10. And then we can also combine like terms here. That'll be 6n minus 18. Distribute the 4 on the right side. 4n minus 36. Just bring it down. Now we have variables on both sides of the equal sign. Oh, I accidentally wrote x. It was supposed to be 6n. Let's move this over to the left. We're going to subtract 4n. So 2n minus 18. Then we're going to add 18 to both sides. And then divide by 2, so we'll have n is negative 9. Okay, number 5 introduces the first quadratic equation. A quadratic equation has a degree of 2, and you can have up to 2 answers. On a rare occasion, you may have 1. Now, to solve this, personally, I noticed that I have both terms having a t. That's an easy GCF here. Very easy GCF of t. And then divide. Let me make some room here. So t outside of parentheses and divide each term by t. Put a little curve to those t's. Make sure they don't look like plus signs. So t squared divided by t is t, plus these t's cancel, so 7 equals 0. So now from here, we can get 2 answers. We have 2 factors. We're going to set each of them equal to 0 and solve. Now right away, the first one, the GCF, t equals 0. That's solved, so there's one of my answers. And then the other one, t plus 7 equals 0, so t would have to be also negative 7. So there's your 2 answers. Okay, this one's pretty tricky here. What we want to do for this problem is let's get the 12y moved to the left, so we would subtract 12y. We want this equal to 0, so we can try factoring. Or quadratic equation. or quadratic formula, I should say, whatever works well for you. Me personally, I'm pretty good at, I mean, I should be good at factoring, and I can see that this is factorable. It's a nice, easy trinomial. My signs are minus minus. Two numbers that multiply to get 36 and add up to 12 are -6 and -6. Now, since they repeat, I'm only going to get one answer here. You wouldn't write it twice. So just set that factor equal to 0 and then add 6. So you would get one answer. So as I said earlier, you can get up to 2 answers when you see an exponent of 2. Number 7, if I'm solving this and I'm factoring, it is set equal to 0, that's good. This is actually this is easy to factor. That's a difference of squares. So that would be y plus 8 and y minus 8. By now, you guys should be absolute pros at factoring just difference of squares. All right, so now we have our 2 factors. So let's, we can take a shortcut here. We know that the first one, it's pretty much opposites. So the first one would be -8 and the second one would be +8. By now, we can start taking that shortcut. Remember, it would be -8 because -8 plus 8 is 0. The second one is 8 because 8 minus 8 is 0. That's where I'm coming up with those shortcuts. Okay, let's, we could solve this by the square root method. Or actually, we can just factor it. If we factor at a GCF, we divide by 3, we'll have y squared minus 25. So we started with a GCF. Then you can see that y squared minus 25, that's a difference of squares, which is y plus 5, y minus 5. Now it's factored completely. Now it's answer time. The 3 does not have a y, so the 3 does not help us get an answer. If it had a GCF that had a variable in it, then we would get a 0 out of it for an answer, but not the case here. So we got 1, 2 factors. We could just take the shortcuts like we did the last problem. The first one to make 0 would be -5, and the second one would be 5. Pretty much opposite signs here. Number 9 is all out of whack. Please do not set each of these equal to 20. We have to turn this into a proper quadratic equation. So what we have to do is distribute the x. So it'll be x squared minus 8x. And then we let's turn it around so it looks more normal. And then we want it set equal to 0 so that we can factor or use the quadratic formula, either one. Either one is fine with me on a test, just as long as you're showing work. Can this be factored? Let's check. Looks like an easy trinomial. My signs, that c term is a -20, so that means we have plus minus. I need 2 numbers that multiply to get -20 and subtract to get -8. That would be +2 and a -10. So that's good. I factored. Now I'm going to get my answers. The first one would be -2. The second one would be 10. Number 10 is a hard trinomial here. If I'm solving this, I do not try to factor this. I hate when I have to solve and I'm finding out what the x's are. I do not like to deal with hard trinomials. I go right to my quadratic formula. So a, b, c. So x equals -b. You guys should have the quadratic formula written down somewhere. Or memorized by this point, to be honest with you. All right, so the formula is -b, but b is a -11, so double negatives make a +11. Then you have a plus minus, giant square root, And then would be b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. So remember, to solve with quadratic formula, you multiply 3 times at the beginning. You do this, these, and this. So negative 11 squared would be 121. And then minus, that would be double negatives, that would be a plus. 4 times 6 is 24, times 10 is 240. And divided by, that would be 12 from 2 times 6. Then we're going to add inside the radical to get square root of 361. I believe the square root of 361 is 19. Let me double check that by doing 19 times 19. Yes, it is. So the square root of 361 is 19. I did not have a calculator handy. It's in the other room. So I don't have any radical. I don't have a radical left. So this is the point in the problem where you split into two answers. Call it x1 and x2. So the first one, do 11 plus 19, then divide by 12. That would be 30. I wrote 20. I meant to write 12. So that would be add and then divide by 12. That would divide by 2. That would divide by 3. And that would be 2.5. So one of my answers is 2.5. And then the other one, you do 11 minus 19 divided by 12. Subtract. And that would be negative 1/2. So there are your two answers. So when in doubt, if you don't remember how to factor, remember, if you're solving any quadratic, you can use the Pythagorean formula. Not Pythagorean. What am I saying? Quadratic formula. Not doing triangles here. All right, more recent stuff. Find the domain. Be careful with reading directions. When it says find the domain, we're not simplifying the whole thing. We're just worried about the denominator and what x cannot be. Remember, we cannot have a denominator of 0 with a fraction. So remember, the rule is, we set it, we'll call it not equal to 0. And then we would solve this. Subtract 6. Divide by 3. So we would say x cannot be equal to negative 2. It can be any number in the world, but it's not allowed to be negative 2 because it would make a 0 in the denominator. Okay, so again, don't worry about the numerator. When the directions are, find the domain. It just has to do with the denominator. So set this not equal to 0. To solve this, it is a quadratic trinomial. So let's set up factoring. My signs, the c term is a minus 6, so that's plus minus. Two numbers that multiply to get negative 6 and add up to get a plus 5, or subtract to get a plus 5. That would be a plus 6 and a minus 1 gets plus 5. So then I can go ahead and I can get my domains. I would take the shortcut and say x cannot be negative 6 nor 1. Remember, you're just using the opposite signs there because they would come out to be 0 if you plugged them in. Okay, number 13. We got a bunch of factoring here. Don't worry about this. Just worry about the bottom. That's a difference of squares. So that'll be, first one's x plus 3, x minus 3. The second one is a nice, easy, well, not the easiest, but it's an easy trinomial. Signs, we got a c being a minus, so that's plus minus. Two numbers that multiply to get negative 15 with different signs. To subtract to get a plus 2, that would be plus 5 and minus 3. And then we can say what x cannot be equal. We'll take our shortcuts. The first one, negative 3, then 3, then negative 5. And this one would be 3 again, but don't repeat it. You already have the 3 there. All right, number 14, multiply or divide and simplify. So this one's multiply, so we're just factoring. The top left is a difference of squares, so that would be x plus 3, x minus 3. The top right just carries down, it cannot be factored. The bottom left, x minus y squared, means write x minus y twice. And the bottom right, x plus 3, just carries down. All right, so now it's time to cancel some stuff out. One at the top with one at the bottom. So here, this and this and one of these, and that's it. Now it's answer time. It would be x minus 3 left on top, x minus y left on the bottom. Number 15, just a bunch of factoring going on again. The top left is a difference, easy trinomial. My signs, it's a minus 40, so that your signs are plus minus. Two numbers that multiply to get negative 40 and subtract to get a plus 3, that would be plus 8 and minus 5. Now the top right is a GCF. What is the GCF there? It would be 4x. And then carefully divide by 4x. So 4x to the second divided by 4x is 1x. Minus 8x divided by 4x would be 2. The x's would cancel there. On the bottom left is also a GCF. The GCF is 2x to the second. And then divide carefully by the 2x to the second. 2x to the third divided by 2x to the second is 1x. Minus 4x to the second divided by 2x to the second is just a 2. The x squareds cancel out. The bottom right is another GCF. What is it? It's a 5. So put times 5. And then carefully divide by 5. 5x divided by 5 is 1x. Minus 25 divided by 5 is 5. So now we can cancel some stuff out. X minus 5 and x minus 5. X minus 2's. Now let's carry down. We're not done yet. We'll talk about let's put the monomials out in front and then go from there. So 4x will get moved out in front, that monomial, followed by x plus 8. And then on the bottom, 2x squared times 5, that would be 10x squared. 2 times 5 gets the 10. Now, we want to look at the monomials here. So 4 over 10 reduces, they each divide by 2 to have 2 over 5. And then x divided by x squared, that would be x on the bottom, or 1 over x. And then carry over your x plus 8. And there's your answer. All right, 16 is showing dividing. Remember, we turn division into multiplication. We need to flip the second fraction upside down. So I'm going to be factoring all of these. The top left would be I got to go quick here. I'm looking at my time. The top left would be an easy trinomial. plus minus, and that would be plus 1 and minus 5 gets the negative 4. Now, the bottom right, because it's division, bottom right will move up into the top right and factored. So this guy here is what I'm doing right now. So that's a nice, easy two numbers. Actually, my sign's got to be minus minus. Two numbers that multiply to 18 add up to 9 are 3 and 6. Now the bottom left is another easy trinomial. Signs are minus minus. Two numbers multiplied to get 12 add up to 8 are 2 and 6. And what started up here is going to get moved to the bottom right. Another easy trinomial. Minus minus for the signs. Two numbers multiplied to get 15 add up to 8 are 3 and 5. Everything's factored. Now it's time to cut some stuff out. A minus 5s, A minus 3s, A minus 6. And that's it. What's left? A plus 1 over A minus 2. And number 17, the last one, another division. So we're going to turn this one upside down. So top left is a GCF of 4. Then divide by 4 to have x plus 3. The bottom, or this guy's going to move up to the top right. It's going to write, we're going to write x minus 4 twice. Bottom left, 4x minus 16 has a GCF of 4. And then divide by 4 to have 1x minus 4. And this guy's going to move to the bottom right, write it twice, x plus 3 and x plus 3. And then we're going to cancel some stuff out. X plus 3s, x minus 4s, and also these identical 4s. Cut them out. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So we can carry down to our answer, x minus 4 over x plus 3. Okay, guys, I hope you watch this. Watch it again if you need to. And make sure you guys are studying up for the quiz tomorrow. Be good. Have a good day.